Ho ho ho, and welcome to episode 45 of When the Flames Go Up, the ATFC podcast. The last one of 2024 and the one that comes before a game that's getting bigger and bigger by the second, it seems. The Woking at home game on Boxing Day, followed by a little talk about the Sutton game as well, which is the New Year's Day away fixture. We'll also have time to talk about the Halifax at home game and then also the most recent game that we were all there to see, Forest Green Rovers away. So yeah, all that's left to say really is Merry Christmas from everyone here. Hope you have a nice time and break. And yeah, we'll be back again in the new year, probably before the Chertsey FA Trophy game, which is on the 4th of Jan, but it may be after that. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, enjoy this episode and up the shots. So the shots enter the festive period down in 19th position, still 3 points off the drop zone as they were the last time we recorded. Apologies if you can hear that drilling next door, which is opportune moment. They've decided to start at 1 o'clock as we've recorded. Anyway, so Aldershot played Halifax last Saturday in a 4-3 defeat. Halifax went 2-0 up into the break. Shots seemingly giving the ball away as often as possible. But the shots did come back. Akpan and James Henry got it back to 2-2 before Geordie's throw out mistake slip let Cook in to make it 3-2. They scored again 5 minutes later to make it 4-2. And then Jack Barham got a consolation. And then most recently, the game that two on the panel tonight, Joe and Julian, brought the game was Forest Green Rovers away, a 1-1 draw. So we're going to discuss those first. I'm going to come to you first, Joe. What were your impressions of the Halifax game last weekend?
This is one of the ones, unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch for the first time in a while, but it was definitely an interesting one to read about and see the highlights of. My main takeaway, having not seen the game, is just reacting to some of the criticism that Geordie got for that game. Now, when a goalkeeper makes a mistake, it is so much more under the microscope because it's the only position really where if you make a mistake, it almost certainly leads to a goal. And obviously, as fans, we've all got a right to an opinion, but the abuse that he received after that game, from what I've seen and read, it's just out of order, really. And I think it's just such a shame because I think it's more amplified as well because the timing of that mistake, you've got yourself back into a game to from 2-0 down to come out to 2-2, and then just I think the anger really stemmed from the fact that we're probably going to go on to win that game the way it looked, and it unfortunately has cost us all the points that day, and I suppose there's the added frustration of most of the fan base I don't think any of us really understanding the rotation policy this season, and I'm sure there are reasons for it, but I think it's very hard for us at the moment to necessarily understand why you would change a goalkeeper who is, I would say, Dewhurst is probably the best goalie we've had in the last few years, and I don't think there's many people who would argue with that. So yeah, that's my main takeaway from that game, having not been able to sort of see the whole thing.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, yeah, an observation made probably the last time that Geordie had his free game spell earlier in the season was about the kind of chopping and changing of the back line as well. So that back six has swapped and changed so much. It does seem counterintuitive to take out a keeper that's been in there for that spell anyway, where I don't think he was doing anything wrong. Julian, come to you. What were your thoughts on the Halifax game last weekend?
Yeah, I'd like to echo what Joe was saying. Actually, when you're in the moment, you always have an opinion, don't you? But when a goalie makes a mistake, it does invariably lead to a goal. And I was looking at some of the other performances on Saturday, and no one's mentioned that Cameron Hargreaves made quite a few mistakes during the game, and nobody mentioned that the other players were making mistakes. So I think the criticism was over the top. I guess the reason for that probably is down to perhaps the lack of communication as to really understanding why Geordie is playing. And obviously without Tommy at the helm as well, it just makes things a little bit harder for the communication levels to come through as well. But I think overall, we sort of got what we deserved, really, didn't we? We probably didn't deserve anything from the game. If you let in 4 goals at home, you can't argue that you deserve anything from the game. The overriding word that I've written down is inconsistency, and that's not only from the players but also from the team selections. Again, as Joe mentioned there, I think over the last 7 games we've had a different back three every time, and within that back three we've used 8 players, and you're not going to get top of the table performances with that inconsistency week in, week out. So it does, funny enough, seem quite a long time ago now, that Halifax game. But I think we've just got to take it on the chin, learn some lessons from it. And we'll get on to talking about the Forest Green game in a moment. And perhaps we did learn a lesson or two from that.
Yeah, but you seem to mention the back line changing quite a lot. That was the Halifax game was Jenkins' return to the team starting, who obviously he came off in what minute did he come off? The 60th minute, seemingly pulling up. I'm not sure. I mean, it's hard to say. I was watching on the stream, but it kind of looked like he pulled up, and obviously he's come back from a hamstring issue previously. So yeah, that was another a slight kind of throwing him into the fire, giving him a starting berth. I mean, because you're expecting to play 90 minutes if you're a centre back in that team. You're not usually going to be one of the subs, so to throw him in there and ask him to do 90. The rest didn't play off, unfortunately, so he's now out. I mean that Maghoma came in on the Forest Green game, which we'll move on to now. So as I said earlier, the shots drew 1-1. 2 goals very close to the half-time mark. Ryan Jones with a deflected effort in the 44th. And then Charlie McCann for Forest Green after 26 seconds into the second half, which we kicked off as well. So, actually, watching the highlights back is quite funny. How quickly there seems to be a big old space down our left-hand side. Joe, you were there. I met you. What were your impressions of the Forest Green away game?
Yeah, it was a really nice day out actually. It's my first time going to Forest Green. First thoughts were just off the M5, just driving through a succession of lovely English countryside, and I was there going. Saying to my dad who was driving, "We'll be sure there's like a national football team based around here." It just seemed very bizarre. So yeah, as far as an away day goes, it was just a really pleasant one, and made more pleasant by the actual sort of decent performance we put in. But the pre-match atmosphere at Forest Green was unlike also any football match I've ever been to. It was like being at a small country fete with like a folk singer who then sort of after his songs there was just choruses of "Come on, you Reds" afterwards, and I think at one point he pointed to the Shots fans and said it was the origins of punk music. He was very very good with them. Yeah, that was most enjoyable. And there's also pizzas being cooked out the back of a disused Land Rover. It was just all very surreal. Don't think that would necessarily go down so well at the Rec if they tried that, but let's see. But first thoughts were when the teams came out, even when they were warming up, was Forest Green looked absolutely massive. It reminded me of the Solihull sort of defence of a few seasons ago. It just looked like a total mismatch. And apart from maybe we've got Maghoma, but other than that, we haven't really got any big players at all. So I thought it was going to be a tough physical battle, but I was really, really impressed with how Maghoma and Ellison sort of stood up to that, and Ollie Scott as well, really, because I thought we were going to get overrun and that we would really concede quite easily from set pieces. But we've been quite critical of Maghoma. In fact, at half time, I wasn't so sure. And I was saying to Will, actually, I was about some of his physicality, but I think the ref sort of let most of it go, and he held up really well. And Ellison is an absolute mountain in the air. That was really impressive. But yeah, we looked slightly overrun in the midfield in the first 20 minutes. They sort of got through us quite easily. But as we weathered that early storm, we sort of grew in confidence and grew into the game. And once we started to get it on the ground, because the first 20 minutes we were playing a bit long ball up to bar, it wasn't quite working. But when we started to get it on the ground, Jones went really direct, and I think he got his reward for doing so. Um, and it was actually quite a good shot before it took the deflection and may well have been heading in. So I think you might call it a scrappy goal, but I think it was well deserved. Um, Second half, I think was the only time really our defense got caught square on, and it was just quite alarming. Really, I think it was the only time we were probably had a high line. We were quite deep for the rest of the game, and yeah, just I think it was a lapse in concentration. You could argue Ellison maybe wasn't quite close enough to his man, but like we say, we've been chopping and changing that back line. You can't really expect them to have perfect communication established if they don't play together for more than 90 minutes. Um, the Henry's missed free header was my biggest chance of the game. I thought from where we were sat, that cross coming in, it looked like a certain goal. And if you had any money on anyone to score that, you'd put it on James Henry, wouldn't you? Um, but overall thoughts on the game, I thought we made the team one of the top teams, probably favourites for the title. We made them look very ordinary, which was good, but also frustrating that we can do that. With obviously the home performance, opening game of the season against Forest Green, we played really well. We've done the same again today, and you just look back to Halifax a week ago and you think, how can that be the same team that have done that? If we could transfer some of that confidence from the second half, especially into the rest of the season, I'll be really happy. I noted a couple of standout players as well, Ellison and Magoma, but I also thought Tetek's really in the sort of half an hour in the second half, he was just really starting to just look a class above, which I think he is when he's fully fit. And also, I put one honourable mention to Cameron Hargreaves for a defensive tracking run he made when can't remember which Forest Green player it was that was through, but I thought that was going to be the winning goal. But he sort of just I'm so impressed with his work rate. I think, as Julian said earlier, maybe wasn't his best game necessarily as a few wayward passes, but he's exactly the sort of player you want for 90 minutes, and you can know that he will run for 90 minutes and track back defensively. So yeah, really happy with the performance. And I think on another day, it could well have been a 3-3 draw or a 4-1 either way, really depending if the defense. Yeah, overall happy.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I think you mentioned Jones kind of getting down and being direct and able to run at those defenders, and also you mentioned Tete, who also was matching up with him and overlapping on that left-hand side, which was quite interesting. Did it in both the first and the second half, finding your centre mid finding room on the left, and he's both-footed, so he was able to put a couple of decent balls in with his left foot, and then also kind of drag a player out of the central midfielder. So I thought it was very very interesting, very fluid in that kind of front area with Henry kind of. Yeah, Henry was kind of a bit more strikery in
Yeah,
stages.
and I think Henry was. I think he was definitely pinpointed by Forest Green as a danger man. I think it's the least amount of space I've seen him get, and I don't. It's not from a bad performance. I just think they marked him out of the game, but by doing that, created space for the likes of Jones and Tete to move around more. So I've just realised I massively missed one bit of my notes, which was the best save I've seen live in a long time for Marcus Dewhurst. So it's the elephant in the room there. I watched it back on the replay and I was almost disappointed because I wasn't as impressed by it on the replay, but live it was just from where we were in the middle of the pitch. It was phenomenal reaction save with his feet. And I think had that gone in, it may well have been a very different course of the game. That save was one of the best saves I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, it was good as well. The way he flapped at the second one as well. He was obviously so excited and full of adrenaline after making that save. He just kind of like could have caught it if any other situation would have caught it, but because he after that save, and also on the replay, the clearance off the line by the Forest Green player is is unbelievable. I remember seeing it in person. He kind of arches his back to like head it upwards and over the bar. It's a brilliant piece of defending. Very Alessandro Nesta or like John Terry-esque, just putting bit. That was great. So on the replay, I definitely watch that again. Julian, you had a slightly different view than the away slab or covered standing or covered seating area at Forest Green. What was your impression of the game, and what were you up to?
Yeah, so my view was from the BBC commentary box. So I was the co-commentator alongside Rob for BBC Sports at the weekend. Although having said that, it very nearly didn't happen. It was an absolute calamity of scenarios before the game kicked off. If you were logged into Facebook, Rob was updating everybody on stray shots. He actually got a puncture on the M4. And so it was a combination of we're not going to make the commentary at all, Julian, to you might need to speak directly to the studio to put in updates every 30 minutes. So then it was a case of the AA are here and in quick fit Cirencester because we need a new tyre and we're not going to make it. And eventually logged on live with 45 seconds to go before kickoff with no preparation at all. So if anybody did listen to it, then huge apologies because I was literally winging it for 90 minutes. But it was great fun. And the interesting thing from the commentary point of view is that you obviously get Rob's views as well, but also the other media team as well. And overall, they were really impressed with the shots performance. And there's quite a few of them saying that there's not been many teams that have actually come to the new lawn this season and had a go, because the reputation they've built so far is that everyone just sits back and tries to hold on and try and get a result. But you watch the highlights back and it was an absolutely superb performance. I would just, with regard to the players, I thought McComb was excellent. He won every single header, and I thought Tetek was great in the centre as well. He put in another great 90 minutes. And I think Ryan Jones is starting to play with a real sort of confidence and just so comfortable on the ball that he's prepared to take people on. And I'm not sure whether he would have perhaps had that shot if it had been sort of 5 or 6 games ago. He's definitely forward thinking now and looking to take on the defenders. And actually, they were a little bit frightened of making a tackle, weren't they? They were backing off, and got to the edge of the box and thought he'd have a go. And I think I said a really cheesy line in the commentary. I said, if you, it's that old classic, if you don't shoot, you won't score. So, all in all, I thought we played really well. Just looking at some of the research as well, if you look at the top 5 in the league at the moment, we have only lost one of those games that we've played. And there's 2, I think there's 6 games we've played. We've only lost one of them so far, and that was to Barnet, I think. All the others, we've taken either a win or a draw off of them. So I think the really interesting thing for us is that we've got a good team, but we've got to do it more consistently. And I mentioned that consistency word at the start. It's no point in going to Forest Green if you're going to then lose at home to Woking on Boxing Day. So I think we'll take a lot of confidence from that game. That's how we want to play. That's how we should play. And I think there's lots to look forward to. Just a quick mention with regard to James Henry. Yeah, he was playing up alongside Barham on Saturday. And Barrett were out through flu. And so Henry sort of stepped up and took on that sort of striker's role. And actually the first goal was interesting because you mentioned, Joe, that he wasn't getting much space. So actually, if you look at the highlights, he actually stepped back from the front 2, was able to pick the ball up in that little pocket of space, feeding Jones, who then went on and scored the goal. So, but yeah, overall, really pleased with the result.
Interesting. I was going to mention about Henry, kind of, he was up top, but kind of like a second striker a lot of the time, just waiting for the, because we were able to, once it was in Dewhurst's hands, I mean, by his feet, he could have made, what was it, like 75-yard kicks. He was just plonking them right on the edge of the 18-yard box almost. which is it's a great weapon, especially when it's a nice windy day up on one of the highest grounds in the UK, at the new lawn. But yeah, was a solid performance. The shots did end up moving down a place, I believe. I think we were at 18th before, due to the aforementioned Woking, who with their new manager Neil Ardley, managed to get a home win against Altrincham. So they do jump above us ahead of this Boxing Day game at home. So we'll move on to talking about that. Where do we begin? It comes around every year. I'm going to go to you, Joe, first. What are your initial impressions of facing Woking on Boxing Day?
I mean, it's a bit of a different looking sort of Boxing Day lineup to the last few years where we've gone in as favourites a lot more so. I think we all saw the potential manager sacking or the manager sacking that did come for Woking, and it's come at a bloody annoying time for us Shots fans. They could have just waited until we beat them on Boxing Day to then sack him. It would have been ideal, but we've now got a bit of an unknown quantity. I'm surprised how much they've struggled this season. They've got a lot of quality in that squad, I think. So if they can get the right man in, I think they could well turn it round. If we play like we did in the second half, that half an hour of real confidence, real directness, I think we there's no reason we can't win that game. If we stick with Dewhurst in goal, if we stick with very similar, I mean, I know we had Josh Barrett out and Ashley Akpan, but I'd be hard pushed to change any of that lineup from Saturday. But this is Aldershot 2024-25. If we stuck with the same starting 11, I think we'd all be shocked. But yeah, I would happily. I feel a bit harsh to not put Ashley Akpan back in because he's had a very good season. But I don't think the way we finished that game on Saturday, I wouldn't change anything. I'd like to think we'll come out 2-1 winners. But only conceding one goal is optimistic.
Yes, and as always, Woking do have a little section of their team dedicated to ex-Aldershot players. Cian Harris is at the back. Frank Vincent and Jermaine Anderson will be in the midfield, and of course, Innie Effiong will be up top. The latter two, Effiong and Anderson, both scored at the weekend, and also on the bench they've got Lewis Walker, who can't remember if he ever actually played, but he was with us, I think, for a bit. Anyway, Julian, how are you feeling about Woking at home?
Yeah, I'm feeling confident. I think based on the performance from Saturday, and there were some good parts of the Halifax game as well. I think we can definitely get 3 points from this away from last year, where we were able to really go on a move. So yeah, I think we can get a result for sure. I think we can win it, and we're going to have to obviously keep a very close eye on Effiong, and I think that will be probably down to Mr. Makoma, and we'll see what happens. But looks like it's going to be a good crowd. I think all the seats have sold bar 20 at the time of recording, so it's going to be a good, healthy crowd. Unfortunately, I won't be there, unfortunately, but obviously I'll be listening from, I was going to say sunny Wales there, but it's nowhere near sunny at the moment. But I'll be cheering the boys on and hoping we can get 3 points.
Nice, yes, yeah, and looking forward to it. Should be, yeah. I can't remember what the attendance was last year. 4,500, I think, maybe, or low 4,000. Should have checked that before. Yes, and then we move on to the other festive fixture. We get a nice break in the National League, which is interesting because every other league is playing in the in-between weekend, the 29th, and we used to. We always used to play Dag Red, it seemed, every year, and on like the 28th or 29th. But the Vanarama, being the Vanarama, have shunned that. So yeah, the next one after that is Sutton away on New Year's Day. Joe, slightly different opposition, I suppose. The team that will be looking to secure a playoff space, although they're currently sitting 13th at the moment. But as with every team that we've previewed in the last month or so, they're 13th but 3 points off 7th. So the league probably belies where they're currently at. What are your thoughts ahead of that one on New Year's Day?
Yeah, I'm really surprised Sutton are where they are, based off where I thought they'd be at the start of the season. Um, they, I thought they were going to come down from the Football League and have a really good go at going straight back up, but that hasn't happened at all. Their last 3 or 4 games, they've had some really not very nice results at all. Losing at home to Tamworth. Tamworth have not got a very good away form at all. Not, I think it might be mildly better than ours, but that's still not good. Um, Losing away to Altrincham, drawing at home to Halifax. These are teams that Sutton would you'd have thought should be beating at the start of the season, but they look on paper at the moment just like another mid-table side that there's no reason we can't go and get a result. And I think it's a really good opportunity for us to get that first away win in a while. And if we go at them with confidence like we did against Forest Green, there's no reason we can't get a result. I said a couple of weeks back that we are in every game. There's very few games this season where we've sort of been battered. I think bar maybe the Fylde game. But even that game, we were in it. We just conceded soft goals. There's not a team in this league I think that we can't beat. I think it's the most open in terms of quality that it has been in quite a few years. And I think, yeah, why not? I'll take a point, but it's a really good opportunity to go and get that win, and especially if we do win against Woking and Boxing Day, we can take some confidence in, and hopefully it's the start of a nice little new year, new run, and new vein of confidence. I'm being optimistic. I've
Hey,
just finished work. I've just finished work for the year. I'm off for a week and a half. I'll speak again in a couple of weeks.
maybe 2025 be full of new optimism in 2025. Yes, I obviously mentioned the long awaited away win. Shots end 2024 with 4 away wins in the year. Woking last New Year's Day, um, Oxford City, Gateshead in the rearranged game, and then obviously Halifax this season. So 4 away wins. We've got to beat that. I reckon we can beat that by March. Hopefully, off like fifth win away win is Rochdale away for my 30th birthday next year. So yes, let's hope for a nice New Year's Day bounce. Julian, come to you. How are you feeling ahead of Sutton away on New Year's Day?
Yeah, but very similar to Joe again. A bit of an unknown quantity, I'd say, Sutton are. You know, I had them in the top five at the start of the season. Very similar to what Forest Green are doing now. You know, I thought they would have the ability to be up there and to look to bounce straight back. It was interesting. I was at a match pre-season, can't remember which it was now, and I bumped into the assistant manager for Sutton, and he was doing some non-league scouting over here in Wales. And he was talking at that stage about sort of wholesale changes, and perhaps that's why they haven't been able to be where they were expected to be. Perhaps they had to make too many changes from their EFL days. But again, like Joe, I can see us getting a result at Sutton. And when you said 4 away wins all year, that is pretty disappointing, isn't it? Really. So we need to get off to a good start. And going to love your enthusiasm, Will. To think that we could have 5 away wins by March would be amazing. So I'm up for that too. But I think there's a chance that we can do it. I really do. And if we beat Woking on Boxing Day, who knows what's going to happen? So I think this is finally our chance to get some consistency. And I've said it a couple of times already. We need some consistency, and I think we're at that stage now where that's what we're going to get, and that's what hopefully will result in 6 points over the next 2 games.
That would be good. Yeah, before we move on to the FA Trophy game as well. So kind of 10 days. 10 days. At some seasons we've had where they've seemed to like define the season and where we see ourselves. And not that it will, but they will be very important, I feel. It will be my first visit to Sutton with grass pitch, so that's quite exciting. Always dreaded going there with a 4G pitch. I don't know why. I always thought their one was slightly different, or we just always played badly there or something. So maybe it was a curse of that 4G. Yeah, I suppose, Joe, I'll ask you a little devil's advocate question. Are the next three games vital? We've seen us put in performances. I think probably the most consistent we've been recently in performance-wise. Obviously, the results have not always come out very well. I mean, Forest Green, we actually played all right in the second half against Halifax. Probably should have won. Yeah, do you see this as kind of defining the season? If we end up, worst case scenario is we are probably in the relegation zone and out of the FA Trophy in 10 days. And obviously, best case scenario, you're into the quarterfinals and you're looking up, probably 14th in the league, with two big league results. How do you feel it will shape the season this next 10 days?
Yeah, I feel the Boxing Day fixture is the biggest one, really. If we're going to win any of them, that's, I think, just from the sort of fans' attitude perspective as well, and I think how that will affect the mentality of the players. If we can win that Woking game and we go and lose at Sutton, I think we're looking okay. If we lose that Woking fixture, and then we lose at Sutton, it's not. There's not going to be much positivity around, is there? Because going and getting a result against your rivals, everyone feels good, and they won't. No one, I don't think anyone would particularly care then if we went and lost to Sutton. If we got 3 points out of those two, and the 3 points come from against Woking, everyone's going to be really happy. But yeah, we could come out with 1 point from those two games, and it's still not looking great. Every time we lose a game at the moment, or we draw, I always just look at the teams below us, and I go, "Is there 4 teams worse than us?" And I think there are. No one below us seems to be picking up much form. I thought they would. I thought teams like Fylde might sort of to come up a bit. They thrashed us, but after that they've dropped off again. I think it's safe to say Ebbsfleet are getting relegated this season. I think that'll be the survival of all survivals. But yeah, we can't keep dropping points when we should be getting at least a point. There's only so long you can do that before you do drop into the relegation zone. But I think the biggest thing is the performances, bar a few, have been promising and shown that there is a team there with enough quality to survive. Will the next 3 games define our season? I don't believe in 3 games defining a season, but if we come out with less than 3 points, it's definitely going to put the pressure on. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'm optimistic.
Great. Nice. All right, I'm going to come to you quickly, Julian. We've got 1 minute left on the record. How do you feel this next kind of 10 days, 3 games in a row will define us?
I think it will define us, Will. I really do. I think what it will do is it will make it really clear whether we need to address the manager situation. Do we carry on to the rest of the season with the coaches that we've got now, or do we get a temporary manager in? I think if we don't get those results in the next 10 days, then we may be forced to go down another avenue. Just very quickly, I did have a chance to speak to Hugo after the Forest Green match, and I was really impressed actually with the attitude, the positivity, and he talked about sort of bounce back ability from disappointing moments. And I think we saw that on Saturday. We conceded that goal really quickly, but it didn't affect us. And I think from that point of view, that the coaches that are there are doing a really good team. So yeah, I think the next 10 days will define our season and make some just choices off the end of it. I'm with Hugo following that amazing 1-1 draw at Forest Green Rovers. Hugo, what did you think of the game?
Overall, really pleased. I mean, very disappointed with the goal we conceded 30 seconds into the second half. But overall, I think we were outstanding. I thought we could and should have won the game. Our plan was a little bit different today, in the sense that a lot of teams come here and just sit off them because they're a top team with a lot of top players. I thought, well, if we do that, we just spend the whole game defending, so let's go and get in their face, and when we get the ball, let's pass it well and see what we can do, because we know we've got players in the team that can create and score chances. And let's not forget we didn't have Josh Barrett today, and we didn't have Ashley Akpan, who've been 2 regular starters. Both unfortunately been knocked out with flu, but they'll be back. They'll be back ahead in the next game. So yeah, really pleased. Really good side we've come up against. Tough team, who I fully expect could and should go on and win the league.
Yeah, they've obviously been unbeaten here all season, and I think to get a point here is a super result. But as you said, I think we feel a bit unlucky that we could have come away with 3.
Yeah, massively, and that's credit to the players as well, because when you go in and come out at the start of the second half and you 1-0 up and you concede so early, it's very easy to your head to go down and stuff like that. But we didn't do that. We kicked off and we went looking up the pitch. And they deserve a lot of credit for that, the players.
Absolutely. I noticed in particular that straight away, as soon as they scored, we carried on doing what we were doing, and that was obviously down to the direction from yourself.
Well, it's from all of us, but I think one of the messages has been this season is about dealing with disappointment, whether it be giving the ball away, conceding a goal, missing a tackle, missing a goal. You just got to get on to the next thing. Think next action, not last action, and we were definitely that today.
We talk about starters and finishers all the time, and the guys that finished obviously had just as big a contribution, particularly in that last 10 minutes.
Of course, but that's why we've got a squad. We've got no problem putting any of them on the pitch. Whether it be 19-year-old on loan from Bournemouth or Kai Corbett, whoever. Theo with season experience player only come on as Dejan had just run out of steam a little bit, and that's why we've got such a good squad in the depth. We might not have. People might look at their bench compared to ours and go, "Ooh," but no, we've got full faith and belief in our squad.
Just looking forward to the next match, obviously Boxing Day, big game.
Mm-hmm.
Any likelihood that perhaps Barrett and Akpan could make it?
I hope so. Because they're 2 top players. But it's Saturday today. We're playing Wednesday, aren't we? And we'll train Monday, Tuesday. So I expect that both will be desperate to put themselves up for selection in this sort of game. So I would expect them both back in the training ground Monday. But they've got to overcome the flu first. So as long as they do that, then fingers crossed they'll be back with us on Monday.
And of course, I guess that's the luxury of having a large squad, is that you can come away to places like this and play superbly well without the need for some of those players.
Yeah, but I also think, do you know what? Whilst it's been mirrored, it's been today that we're getting some pats on the back for coming here and getting the point. Let's not forget the last 2 games, right? We felt we should have got something of Solihull. We were beaten by an absolute worldie strike that with no Premier League keeper gets near that, right? And against Halifax, I know we started slow and we came back. We got the 2-2, and unfortunately, a mistake popped the balloon a little bit. But we still fought to the end and nicked one back, and we actually were a little bit annoyed when the final whistle went, because we had a free kick which we could put it in the box. Now you don't know what the outcome's going to be, right? You don't know, right? So we feel a little bit, it's got the defeat, especially against Halifax, I thought was made to be a little bit bigger than it was, and unfortunately it's just because one incident and popped a balloon. That's life, And unfortunately, because it's a goalkeeper, it gets magnified bigger and bigger and bigger. But you forget about all the mistakes that all the other players make during the game, etc., etc. So, I think we've done well, and I don't feel that we've actually got the reward that we perhaps feel that we should have got in the last few games.
And I think it's all fair to say that you got the reward today. So thank you so much for your time, and looking forward to the Boxing Day clash.
Definitely. Happy Christmas.
Cheers
to all the Shots fans.
Thanks very much.
No worries, mate.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you both, Joe and Julian. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Cheers, well, Merry Christmas. Up the Shots.